Hey there, I'm Ashley Conrad, and welcome to the Daily Muddy. Well, if you have babies or social media, you're probably well aware of the baby formula shortage affecting the U.S. So what happened? Well, I don't know the whole story, but from what I can tell, one of the largest formula producers in the U.S., Abbott Labs, halted production due to recalls of multiple brands of formula. The recall was prompted due to reports of certain brands causing bacterial infections in infants. So much to unpack here. But let's start with what I think is most important, making sure our babies are fed. The formula shortage has incited a whole new discussion around breastfeeding. There have long been strong supporters of breast is best, and some are quite honestly inching closer to what I call breastfeeding Nazis. But moms everywhere have various reasons for choosing the best way to feed their babies. And a lot of the time, it doesn't include breastfeeding. And you know what? I support them all. Personally, I wanted to breastfeed, mostly because I wanted the connection and the convenience. And while I eventually learned to love breastfeeding and the benefits of doing so with both my girls, I absolutely underestimated how hard it would be, both physically and emotionally. Learning to feed a human right after giving birth to said human is exhausting. You don't know what you're doing at all. Everything is new, and if you're like me, you're a bit panicky. Doesn't make for quite the beautiful experience you hear about all the time. Now, luckily, I had my amazing Aunt Kathy, who was at the time an OB nurse, come to my rescue. But most people, you're on your own. Sure, you can take classes, but guess how much of that info sticks with you after the experience of childbirth and bringing a new baby home? It would be really awesome if healthcare providers offered in-home breastfeeding courses after the baby's born, but that's another story altogether. And aside from the learning curve involved with breastfeeding, there's the important topic of production, another thing no one really talks about. The amount of breast milk some women produce or unfortunately don't. And speaking of this, I've seen an increase in breast milk donors on Facebook. And while this is amazing and selfless, and I happen to use one myself, please be sure to talk to your doctor before choosing to use a donor. I'm an advocate for breastfeeding. If it's possible, if it's healthy for you and baby, and most importantly, if it's what you choose to do. But over anything else, I'm an advocate for fed, healthy babies. Now, back to the shortage. So I really think this could have been circumvented, at least a little bit, if things would have been acted on more swiftly. Hindsight, I guess, but still worthy of mention. Also, what are we doing to fix this? I've heard Abbott Labs is starting to ramp up production again, but it will undoubtedly take time to fill the shelves. The shortage never should have happened, but now that it has, it's a, hey, we need to fix this now type of thing that should be at the top of our president's priority list. And I'm no doctor, so I don't have the answers to solve this, but I will leave you with this. We all know the old saying about everyone has opinions, right? Well, as long as your baby is fed and healthy, that's what matters. And if you and your family are affected by the shortage, please don't look to TikTok or social media experts for answers. Please be sure you're getting the advice of a medical professional before giving your baby alternatives to your regular formula. And speaking of the formula shortage, Don O'Brien with the Better Business Bureau is up next to give us an update on scams related to this situation. Stay tuned. A great night's sleep starts at Harvey's Furniture. Harvey's is your home for industry-leading handcrafted mattresses from Bemco, Spring Air, and Chatham & Welch. Twin, full, queen, and king, we have a full selection of in-stock mattresses to fit your needs. No waiting, get it today, and as always, free delivery. You deserve a better night's sleep. Harvey's Furniture, our home, your home.
Instant Replay is your local sports bar. With 18 big screen TVs, we have all the sports packages from college games to pro games. We offer daily drink specials, and come check out the Bullpen, our newly renovated beer garden. Instant Replay, 2739 Chestnut in Quincy.
Welcome back. Don O'Brien is joining me now with the Better Business Bureau. And Don, we're hearing a lot about supply chain issues having to do with baby formula. And like we were chatting about, desperate times call for desperate measures. And sometimes I think people kind of ignore their instinct or, their logical sense when it comes to this. So unfortunately, scammers are taking advantage of this, right?
Yeah, whenever the news hits, the scammers take full advantage of it, whether it's the pandemic a couple of years ago. They had many different schemes during that. The latest one is the baby formula. And
right.
If you're a young mother or an old mother, if you're mother at all, whatever it is, and you're needing this baby formula, just make sure that you take a couple precautions before you just decide to buy blindly from someone.
Sure. So when they're, swap shops on Facebook or, anywhere, really, you have a lot of people claiming that they have what you need, whether it's formula or, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, when I buy something off there, I'll meet someone at Walgreens and have cash in hand mm-hmm. and swap that way. But I know there's a new way of doing that, right? So
correct. It's, you used to have to hand over cash to
right.
people. Now you don't do that. With your cell phone, you can send cash to anybody through any kind of electronic payment system, and it's really easy to send money to people. So what we're hearing reports of BBB is people who are in these various swap shops. They're looking for formula, and they are people that aren't in that community. Obviously, Quincy and Hannibal have their
sure,
own little
not
swap
familiar
shop
with it, right?
Spots. So you have people from, let's say, Tennessee mm-hmm. who get into one of these, and they say, "Oh, I've got this formula. I can mail it to you if you pay me this money."
Sure.
Well, desperate mother sending that money. Not so desperate scammer on the other end gladly takes that money, and there's no formula that's ever mailed. So
right.
the best thing you can do is this scenario that you set up is actually be close enough to actually go drive and get that. Once you get to that residence or wherever you decide to meet, hand over the money, and then you have a clean exchange. When you pay for things up front that you don't have in hand, that's when you can get in trouble.
Yeah, kind of sets you up for failure, especially during this time. So
yes.
Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing, not necessarily scamming out of money, but scamming people in a sense of offering kind of false expertise. So I know I've seen a lot of, people offering alternatives to formula, whether it's goat's milk, whether it's baby goat formula, whether mm-hmm. it's, I don't know, creamer, adding syrup, something, who knows, just so many outlandish things. And then some that are a little more believable, like if you go to Amazon and click a different country, maybe you can get them from, maybe the formula shortage isn't hitting Canada as hard. Mm-hmm. So I think people are, especially mothers and parents as a whole, are desperate, like you said, and they're willing to try anything to make sure their pantry doesn't go bare with this formula. So any kind of advice there?
The only thing you do there is, if you're dealing with a loved one, you want your baby to obviously be healthy and to be full and things. But
sure.
If you're going to look for any kind of alternative, reach out first to your doctor, at the very least to your local health department,
right.
to see if there are any alternatives. Because there are, as we've seen, especially during this little crisis, not everybody can have the same formula. Some babies are
sure.
allergic to some other things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for those people that really need to be careful.
Sure.
And don't get their child sick during this.
Sure. So basically, kind of just use your common sense.
Yep.
Make sure you're using the expertise of medical professionals. Mm-hmm. Also, if it seems too good to be true, it might just be. And
it is,
yeah.
without a doubt. If you ever have that thought that this just doesn't sound right, that's trust your gut, trust
right.
your instinct, and say, you know what, I need to look into this a little bit more. Whether
right.
it's this situation, or whether it's you're buying something online and,
sure.
and you think that, oh, you know what, I saw this price, something else.
Right.
This price seems way too good.
Right.
That's when you really have to kick in and do a little bit more homework to make sure that you're not going to get ripped off in the end.
Right. I mean, I would say one of my biggest pet peeves would be, the scammers, whether it's telephone, whether it's online messaging, whatever it is. I mean, there are people that are, if I'm standing in line at CVS and there's a guy in front of me buying Google Play cards, and mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I always appreciate the cashier who stops to actually take the time to ask why they're buying this many. One instance was a guy was buying it because the IRS contacted him, you know, via the phone, and she was trying to relay to him that you know, probably wasn't likely. So,
Correct.
yeah, I guess like we've always said, technology is good and bad, but unfortunately, it makes people a little easier to target by scammers. And
yep, and they're gonna do everything they can not to get caught too.
Right.
The gift cards are one form of payment. Now they're starting to move into cryptocurrency a little bit and having people go to cryptocurrency ATMs.
Yeah.
So I think that's the next step in the evolution of the scam.
Yeah,
so
there's just a
you've really got to be
progression.
careful for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's unfortunate there are people out there who take advantage of times like this, but I guess as long as we're diligent and aware, we can help negate some of that. So
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you chatting with me about this.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Don.
Yep.
Well, that wraps up our Daily Muddy for today. On Friday, Bob Goff will have his full interview with Terry Trader on the Quincy Grand Prix of karting. So I'll be back on Monday with more Daily Muddy. See you then.